Let's go.
I gotta update some of those sound bites.
Yo,
How was your weekend? Was your weekend
I was
good?
gonna say, what's up with this TikTok weekend beef, bro?
There's some
That was out of
serious TikTok
control. It looked
weekend.
like the beginning of a civil war for a second. Like, hold
Like
up, is the homies with me? I was thinking we good. Everybody loaded.
oh,
Everybody got it. Then I looked at
stop.
your page. I'm like, all right. Then I looked at agent. Oh, everybody fighting today. I'm like, I got
Yeah.
everybody's back too, though. So
And you haven't heard Snacks either. Snacks told me on my live today that he said he's willing to knuckle up with somebody. And I'm like, bro, you're on parole. He said, no. My uncle owns a gym. We can get in
I saw his
get in the
post.
ring.
I saw his post too. Yo.
No, it's not that.
What's up, everyone?
It's not like that. It's just a verbal judo civil war.
I want to do an intellectual breakdown of ideas, like gentlemen, is what I would like to do.
Let's do it over a drink. Why not? Right? Let's grab a drink with these suckers.
I'm actually have on a Monday after a long weekend some scotch.
Let's have some scotch together and talk about how their stance is irrational, shall we?
Don't.
Cheer. That is our city.
We out here.
It's being taken over by leftists, but we're here. Two liberty-loving Latinos. I'm Macho, that's Savory, and you're watching us on Drinks with the Nobody. Thanks for tuning in. Boy, we have ourselves a topic today.
Oh, yeah.
We have a major topic today, and it just goes, I mean, they have arguments that we have conservative contradictions. Let's talk about contradictions, all right. We got a video for y'all, and we want you guys to buckle up.
We do not need to shut down most of lower Manhattan because one cop died for probably doing his job incorrectly. They kill people who are under 22 every single day for no good reason, and we don't shut down the city for them. So
I mean, and what is going on with this?
Yo,
dude.
Where you from?
This is a 30-year-old woman, Jacqueline Guzman. She comes from Miami-Dade County. She's Cuban American, by the way, and she has dreams and aspirations to become an actress, and literally is like doing like she's part of some theater association in New York City. She moved from Miami to here. She doesn't really talk about her personal life. That's fine and dandy. A Cuban American, by the way. You know what I'm saying? And here she is roaming through the streets on the day that Jason Rivera, the police officer, 22 years old, was shot and killed after a domestic violence call a couple of weeks ago. And she says, why are we shutting the building down for a police officer when they kill people every day, particularly young people of younger ages? This is a 30-year-old woman saying this. What happened here? What's going on here?
So hold up. To say something like that, right? This is how simple it is. This is why it's no longer a battle of ideas, but a battle of the ideologies that have the most support. These people think that they can just say things because it's considered truth by most of their friends, because the media gaslights the idea, because your favorite athlete says it, because this celebrity says you. This is the kind of world we live in now. To
All of a
walk
sudden, it's
around like
facts.
that, you better have the facts. You get what I'm saying? Like if I say something like that, you best believe there's some research that I had to see some of those numbers somewhere.
Mhm.
So I don't know, man.
And when they say it, it's all of a sudden facts. When they say it, it's like, oh, well, Colin Kaepernick said this. Oh, like all the list that you went down is very simple. All these people said it. How could they be wrong? This is the what Tom Sowell talks about, victim of the mass group think.
Crazy.
Victim of the mass group think. So now all of a sudden, no one's going to question this. No one's going to have what we call quote unquote critical thinking. No one's going to have it. Why? Because LeBron James says so. Because Colin Kaepernick and Carmelo Anthony, the football players, look at what they're wearing on their decals, on their football helmets. It has to be true. Because why would all these people believe it? It's like, if they all believe it, why shouldn't I? I have to believe it. It's got to be true because look at the pressure of society. Look at this woman, an actress. She said it, that they're killing these young kids. That's so inaccurate. It's not even funny.
And what's crazy about it is if you go against that, right? The narrative, let's call it. When you go against the narrative, people demand facts and sources. This is why it's just comical to me. Citation, facts, and sources. But their ideas are literally ideas that I can pull up as soon as I Google one topic, Wikipedia, and LeBron James. So that's your fact check, but you want me to get a source. But then you give me a source from Harvard Review that's from a liberal pushed university that's kind of pushing these crazy ideas these past decade at least. And you look at that as Bible because it validates your point. My whole point in there is this, Macho. Again, you're walking around New York City where we from, right? And you're telling people that people are dying every day, and you're not far, you're not even close to a reality. That's what bothers me. Maybe if you were close, I'm like, ah, she was off by a few days, or I'm like, oh, once you're delusional, like you're saying right now. This is just you're on a different level of not living in reality. Either you never looked, this is the two conclusions I come to right here. Either you never looked at the data, which is very likely, people don't look at data,
or you're a follower,
or you're just a blind follower, which is another high probability.
Shout out to a new viewer, Bradley Smith, known as Bama.
What's Bama? That's Bama. What up, Bama? I know you, Bama. Okay, I see you.
Listen, even though we don't root for the same hockey team, still cool. We're still cool.
Yeah, I won't let him block you, Bama. Don't worry, man. He takes it
personal.
I
like this comment. Wanted to give Bradley Smith a shout out. Thank you for tuning in to us. Thanks for the support. We appreciate you, Bama. Widespread delusion, guys, that's the explanation, just as what we've been talking about. Either you're looking it up, right? Which I respect liberals who look things up. They'll sit there and they'll be like, okay, this is what I'm looking at. This is the data. These are the sources. Harvard said this. MIT said this, that, and the third. I got it. Look, cool. I can have the conversation with you. But if you're just listening just to listen, that's called parrot rhetoricing. You're literally just retorting what you hear. That's what parrots do. They mimic what they hear, period. And that's why it's like, it just boggles my mind that we have women like that. Jacqueline Guzman, thankfully she lost her job. She had just started to air something on YouTube and Facebook Live 2021. Do I want her career ruined? Absolutely not. I want her to learn her lesson that you think before you speak. Just like I did with that actress, not that actress, the comedian that said that slur about equating black people to gorillas or something like that. I forgot the comedian.
Yeah, me too. I know what you're talking about.
But I wanted her. Yes, should she have lost her job for what she said? Absolutely. Was she being comedic rather than being a racist? Yes, she was being a comedy person, but it doesn't translate over text.
But I would even say, I don't even know if I want her to lose your job. Let the employee handle. Let the employer handle. I say, right? I won't even push. You deserve the public attention you're getting and the pushback from public. But you don't deserve a mob going after you, demanding things to happen because they don't like how I feel. I don't like how you did that. I want that to shed a light on your
Reflect.
ignorance, right? I want
Yeah.
to shed light on your ignorance, and then I want the results to be, hey, between you and your employer and your family, y'all decide. But you can't get away with ignorance all the time. By the way, let me address this. Bradley said confirmation bias is a sickness. We are guilty of it from time to time. Conservatives too. Let me say something about that. We all have confirmation bias. The difference is that we don't have sources that we treat like God-like sources or agendas, better said. The problem with talking to certain people, if I want to talk about family, I'm willing to admit that my whole ideology is still, there's things we could still talk about beyond that. You're
Correct.
not willing to admit that if it's not racism, it's nothing. So it's racism or nothing to you. So you can't speak logically to these kind of people because they give no room for you to inject your ideas or for them to be challenged. So you see the difference? Again, we might have, let's say, conservative talking points, quote unquote, but we know that doesn't solve the entire problem because it's complex. On the other side is not willing to admit that. And that's very, very frustrating to me because it's either believe this narrative
It's called
or believe
conceding.
nothing.
It's literally called conceding. And what I Tyler Bluntman, he's a TikTok creator as well, very good debater. I would never debate him.
Yeah, no, he's a beast.
Along with his
I
friend,
won't debate him.
he has a friend he's a staunch conservative.
Yeah,
I would
both of
never
them are
debate
beast.
him.
They
Yeah.
do this. Yeah.
Because I'm just not that smart at debating. I'm just gonna be honest. I just not. But I like to communicate what I know to be what it is, and that is if I speak on something that I know what it is and what it's about. Now, if I don't know about it, then I'm willing to concede. That's what people on TikTok don't know how to be like. You know what? I didn't know about that. But me and you and me, we've had conversations with people, especially out in the UK.
Mhm.
We had on your live once where she was like, "Yeah, systemic racism is real. This, that, and the third." It was a white thing about slavery, and we literally talked to her, and she said, "You know what? I'm not well versed on that." That's conceding. That's literally saying, "I don't know. You might be onto something. I never heard of it that way." And that's not, we're not looking at her less. We're looking at her more. We're like,
Exactly.
"Thank you." Because
Because
what
now you
happens
give me
is,
room to also realize, okay, I don't know it either, even though I know that. But some people, like when some people get frustrated, is because the other side is pushing so much to push a narrative and not listen.
yeah, at least just the Aunt Karens, the I Speaks, all these people, if they're willing to concede to some notion that you're not growing up in your grandfather's America society, then at least we have a starting point in a conversation.
And let me say this, Macho. I'll tell you how they would concede. It's only one way. This is the problem with the conversation. And thank you for bringing this up because you are helping me express this even more clearly. Let me tell you how they concede. If you believe that racism is the most important issue in America, then I'll concede and we can talk about something else. You don't negotiate. You give this kind of situation of like, if I don't agree with you fully, you're lost. What I'm saying is, hey, you want to entertain culture? You want to entertain family? And when you look
You're
at me and you say, that's not all, I'll say, okay, but let's talk about it. You don't. You want me to put racism in a pedestal in order for you to entertain my ideas. I don't worship you.
You're
So
not
you want me to
lost.
put your racist
You're
narrative up here
whitewashed.
so you can give me attention. I don't
You're
roll
not
like that, bro.
you're not just lost, you're whitewashed.
This is crazy.
Everything you've learned, as we've heard from other creators, is rooted in white supremacy.
You saw
So
I asked his last guest, what's whitewash? He couldn't answer.
she couldn't. No, she couldn't.
You saw it, right? You couldn't
Yeah.
because you're just saying that whitewash is history because most of the country's white. That makes no sense. So what else would it be? See,
I
you know what I'm
have
saying?
no,
Think about that logic. So is African
is none.
history blackwashed? You see, these.
I don't
Anyway,
think that's
man.
how we look at history. We don't look at history through the lens of race. We look at history as it was, as it happened. Very
Until now.
simple. I've been saying this for how many months now? Let's go on to the next segment. And for our new viewers out there, I saw what Bama put in the chat. He put "Go Bolts." I'm not gonna let that slide, Bama. I'm a Rangers
He
fan.
did. He slid it in
I'm
there.
not gonna let that slide. Anywho, yeah. So what we do is we divide the show into 3 segments. Inner City Talks, what we just had. We had a rapid reaction to a video we just watched in Jacqueline Guzman, and in this Keep It 100 segment, let's have a discussion, real and raw. Let's answer
Do it.
some of these questions that I drew up, and that is Savory, what is motivating our society to buy into certain ideologies? I left it open
Man,
ended on purpose.
yeah, you know what? You asked me a little earlier, my favorite part of the live. That was part of it. I realized even more that there's a market. You know, me and you are aware of this, right? Race hustling and all that. We always been aware of this, right? We have not been ignorant to that. But the market is much bigger than I realized. That's something I learned, which
What do you
means
mean?
certain ideologies get pushed, get honored, get praised, whether they're facts, whether they're data driven, whether it is a reality or a disconnection from reality, doesn't matter. All that matters is it a talking point that's important to push a narrative?
So you mean we are governing these people pushing the narrative as a
Well, I
society?
well,
Society's pushing the people who are quote unquote leading society, like contemporary intellectuals, all those kind of folks. Society is literally demanding, right? Our eyes, our attention, our money is going into this. So therefore, they're saying we have to push this.
but let me go a little deeper. The reason I think they're doing that goes back to the kind of system we live in. In the same breath, we criticize capitalism and all that, but it's a capitalistic approach to the conversation of racism because it's actually a market. All right, this is my takeaway today. I
Billion
realize it's
dollar.
a market. So when you have a market, even in a capitalistic system, there's people taking advantage of the narrative. You can sell merch of it. You can have your voice. Remember, your
You make
voice,
movies.
your
You can make
voice is a
movies.
currency now
Yep.
in today's age, right? We have social media, YouTube. If your voice is loud enough and clear enough, you can use that. You got the people here. It's like marketing. The racist hustling narrative is the new way of marketing, which means the louder I am with that, I know that some people are going to be attracted to. Do I do research on that? Nah, I'm good. Do I go deeper into the history? Nah, I'm good. Do I validate my facts? No, because the elites, politicians, professors got my back. So I pair it to these points, like you said earlier, and I create a market from it. To what extent? It's up to the personality, right? Everybody has potential in the market, pretending to the skills. This is why you have people with 2 million followers pushing the same narrative because they give people a sense of belonging. That's a market. They give people answers. That's a market. They give people same talking points. That's a market. They do all that and they build the platform. So it's a capitalistic market approach. I'm convinced.
And the motivating factor would be the emotional tug. Because when you go into conservatism, there's really not a lot of emotional tug to to connect, to make that resignation of saying, look, I could relate to you with these talking points that'll
Mhm.
make you feel to identify why you feel the way you feel. You feel this way because of the talking points I'm giving you. And
Mhm.
now this gives you a place, an echo chamber where you can exist. And now we're going to build this propaganda army that's going to perpetuate CRT,
Yep.
that's going to perpetuate equality in the workplace, that's going to
Mhm.
perpetuate the alphabet community, right? In the way that they're doing it, hijack feminism, hijack Black Lives Matter. That's what they do because they're creating an echo chamber for these particular
Well
people
put.
to exist no matter the facts are not behind them. They don't care because feelings don't care about facts. Just like facts don't care about your feelings, we can flip it and we can simply say feelings don't
Feelings
care
don't
about
care about
facts
your
because what I
facts.
feel and what I saw with Jacob
That's
Blake, what I saw with Michael Brown, what I saw and how I feel, the country felt something
yeah.
about that.
So it's justifiable for us to do what we need to do. Yeah, yeah, you explained it perfectly there. You hit another layer to what I'm saying. You're just proving to me as well that it's a very intricate market. And guess what, Macho? You know what's scary about this? It's a growing market. It's
It's getting
not dying
bigger.
down.
It's getting
It's
bigger.
not dying down, bro. You see how you have markets that come
Before
and go?
before
This
you
is
get to
crazy.
that area, I want to hold on because I know where you're going with that, and I have that as one of the questions. But if you and your wife had a child today,
Hmm.
and in 15 years that child becomes 15 years old, right? How would you feel if your child came to you and told you that America is racist? Better yet, let me say 18 years. 18-year-old just came back from their first semester in college and came back and told you and your wife America is racist and built on white supremacy. How would you feel about that? Tell everybody how you would feel, not what you think, how you feel.
I would feel like I failed as a parent. To be honest, I would feel like there'll be something. You see, when you go back when something happens, like let's say a friendship, somebody says something or somebody like hurts you a certain way, you're like, damn, I never treated that person like that. Or I'm gonna flip that and go to a different. I would say to myself, damn, I didn't do a good job of emphasizing the importance of this. Not only the American dream, it's bigger than this. The importance of just like life, right? How nothing because there's certain values that you learn at home, but the school is hijacking that. They know you learn at home, but the school system and all that's hijacking that. But I would feel, to answer your question directly, a certain kind of void and failure, to be honest. Like I would tell myself, and that's as real as I can get. I'm like, yo, wait, something went wrong, or the world has won over parenting.
Yeah. I would feel, along with what you feel, to add to that, I would feel angry. Immediate anger would rise up in me, and I'd feel like, why did I raise a child that is now coming to me to tell me, someone who's been here longer than them, that America is a racist country built on white supremacy? So, with what Savory and
Hmm.
I just illustrated, the feelings that we have, can you imagine the millions of parents that have to listen to their kids in their high school years and in their first semester of college or midway through their college years, to literally come back to them and tell them America's racist? And you're there like, I can't imagine what it is to be a parent over a child like that. I really can't. Either you're raising them to be that way, or you're just as hurt, angry, and feel fail as much as a failure as we do. Because that's how I would feel. And let me
Yeah.
say this. Let me say this. My son, one time after the incident that happened in Louisiana where a police officer shot in close range a person they were trying to arrest. And because he had a gun on him and he wouldn't let go of the gun. You remember him, that he was trying to sell or give away his CD, and he pulled out his gun on two people that went into a store, and those people called the police. They came over, and then he started like gun toting, right? I don't know if you remember that story.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Keep going.
Anyways, my son was a little younger. He was sitting in the back seat as I was driving, and he said, "Dad," and it was literally off of this because he mentioned that to me, and he said to me, "Dad, cops are meant to kill people." And I said, "Who told you that?"
Hmm.
"That's what Mom told me." And I just said, I had to look away.
Wow.
So he doesn't see my face, but I was so angry because his mother has an ideology that I don't have. 100%. I don't have that ideology. If the cop's wrong, the cop's wrong. But I would never say that cops are meant to kill people. That is a definitive statement to say that cops are meant to kill people. So all I did was, instead of saying anything to contradict his mom, all I said was, is I drove up to the courthouse and I said, this was in Yankee Stadium, the courthouse right by Yankee Stadium. I sat in front of there. I said, this is where you fight and argue your case. You never
Mm.
do it with a police officer on the street, because that's not what they're there for. What they're there for is to make sure you follow the law, or don't. If you don't, then they take you in. They take you in, and there's where you go and you fight it. Live to see another day, kid. That's all I'm going to leave you with. Live to see another day. And I probably said that to him at 8. I try to be as simple as possible with visual,
Mhm.
rather than just giving big words and
That
that's
was good.
another
I
thing
think that was good
about
what you did there.
that's another thing about what people do in society is they throw these things at kids, and you're not going to control how they're going to interpret that. Right? Are you really thinking and digesting some of this stuff, or you're really just doing what
S-
KKK members were doing? They were breeding this into their
Yeah, it's kind
kids.
of that home cycle. Let me ask you something, Macho. So when we talk about this issue, right, and the question you asked me, now let me follow up on that really quick. So what do you think is our responsibility as fathers, mothers, citizens? Like, what angle do we fight this back, right? Because this narrative is coming from where, right? Because it's happening. Your situation, this is what I'm going to say. Your situation, well, not your situation, but the example you gave, and not only with your son, but just in general, I'm guessing that's happening in homes.
Yep.
So what's infiltrating here, and how do parents fight back? What's your thoughts on that?
You do what I just did. You show your kids. You don't just tell them and spew this kind of stuff. You show them. Introduce them to a police officer. Have them do a walkthrough. Have them do a ride along. Take them on. I took my son to see firemen. I had him sit inside of a fire truck. I had him, I wanted to get him in an EMT. I want to take him places so he can get to know people. Part of the things that my brother did, my brother is same sex attracted. So one of the things that he would do is he would take me around certain areas, right? Not that
Mhm.
he's not trying to put anything in my head. All he's trying to do is get me open to knowing that there's more to life than just black and white. So he would take me to see Broadway
Interesting.
shows. He would get
Mhm.
me to meet people on Broadway theater. And I got to see a lot of his friends. I got to see how they express themselves. He never told me that he was same sex attracted. You get my drift? He
Mhm.
never told me. I just grew up and found out. He never sat down with me and said, "Hey, listen,
Interesting.
I'm same sex attracted, right?" He never told me. Till this day, has never had that conversation with me. But I just knew because it's him.
Mhm.
It's his life, and I met all types of different types of people who have different ways of thinking. He defines it as I wanted to put culture in my little brother. That's it. That was it.
Mhm.
It was his way of saying I want to instill culture in my brother. I want him to know that there's more to life than just the hood in his mind. The hood is not everything. The hood is not life, right? So I got to meet all types of different people. So I think that's a way
Well,
you can help
yeah,
steward your
let me
kids.
say one more thing on that really quick. I know you got sent after this, so I'll make this quick here is you remember my analogy when I talk about when we grow up in the hood in the inner city, we live in a bubble. Right? You ever
Yeah.
notice that? Which means we're with our friends. There's a stigma of going downtown,
Yep.
hands being to the floor. This because you feel comfortable in your own madness, and you make that madness your kind of regular situation, your everyday. Which in reality, as you get older, you realize, oh wow, there's people who work downtown. There's people who look like me who are doing this. There's people who are going to school. There's people. That's why it's very dangerous to keep, and this is to hit on the lies in inner cities that Guzman, that journalist or actress in the beginning, spoke about. These are the lies that are pushed because you live in a bubble. You see, when you live in a bubble, it's easy to push lies because everybody around you is supporting you.
It's hard to see racism in New York City. Just to keep it 100.
No,
It's hard to
bro,
see racism in New York
very
City. Why?
hard, bro.
We take the MTA, bro. We're all clustered together.
Bro, very
Every
hard.
single person in every single demographic. What do you think? White people just drive? They
It's hard
don't.
to
They
see
take the
even bad
train.
cops, to be honest.
And by the way, how many millionaires take the NY and take the subway? We
A lot.
even have
I saw
actors.
Keanu Reeves on the train before.
Jake Gyllenhaal. Keanu Reeves takes the train all the time.
Yeah,
All the
so me and
time.
Noel saw him, I
Jake,
remember. Crazy.
Jake Gyllenhaal. That other guy, I forgot his name. He's downtown. I mean, I think this guy is a bit too big to take the train. But Ron Perlman, he's
Hmm.
been on the train before. The guy that played in Sons of Anarchy. The guy that played what was it? Hellboy. He's
But we're
taking the train.
convinced that the world is racist and cops are out to get us. Go figure. You
Or
just gave a
or
common
that
sense
we're
of New York.
classes. Or that we're classes. How are
Crazy.
we classes when we got billionaires taking them the subway? It's $2.30. How much is it now? 275 for
Yeah,
a
it's
Metro
a
card? You have so many rich and famous people who take the subway like people of all different type of economic classes. So it's not a classist system, nor is it a racist
Mm-hmm.
system. That's why it's hard to talk to inner city kids like me and you and talk about things that are systemic. Because we'll look at you and go, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, yeah. And but there's people from New York who believe that narrative, I realize, and I'll
Because
tell
they're
you why.
parroting. Because they're
Exactly.
parroting.
They're just going with where the power is, where the influence is. They follow the power, they follow the influence, they follow the parroting talking points, and what happens? You have a sense of belonging. So you're like, all
Yeah.
right, cool. Everybody agrees with me. We went away
Exactly.
from that.
When you build your identity on this stuff, you have way too much to lose. Why do people play the race card? I got one more question after this. But why do people play the race card?
It's an easy explanation to difficult problems.
Or to why you can't get to where you want to get to?
Exactly, which is difficult problems,
Yeah.
right? Those problems are more difficult than race. I'm with you, but think about it. It's an easy explanation. When I say easy, I don't mean it's true, but it's just an easy explanation. And I'll say one more thing on that. A politician's job is to tell you what you want to hear.
That's it.
All right.
That's it.
So
what the
when I
news
think
do.
about the racist card,
That's what the news
I
does.
take it back
every
to I
single
take it
day.
back to politics. A politician's job is to tell you what you want to hear. So you tell them long enough, you convince them long enough, people would be just repeating like parrots your talking points.
Will we ever have a time in America where we will never have the race conversation?
At this point, I believe no.
Does anybody want to answer that question who is watching us
Yeah, that's
right
a great
now?
question for anybody still in here. Is there ever, Macho just said, posed a great question. Would there ever be a time in America where we would not have the race conversation? That's a great question. I personally believe no.
And
It's
that's
too
why
much.
you were talking about the whole business part of it. Trillions of dollars. If we're not having this conversation, where's that money going?
Bro, it's a difference between you having a business and always having a market. Let me break this down to people. Racism is a market, which means you can use it in a variety of ways, right? From online to speeches in corporate world to political talking points. So you see what I'm saying? There's so many ways to enter the market of race hustling. And you don't have to be white or black. You can be anything as long as you agree with the ideological precepts. You can talk about it, make money off it, and live well off it. So I don't think it's
Yeah.
going away, but we need to fight back of it.
Yeah, and it's just. Let me see here. I'm looking for a quote that even Booker T. Washington talked about it. That the sole purpose of certain people in power or leading, there were leading intellectuals that were black and white at the time that wanted to keep the problems of the race in front of America because it's a lucrative business. It's always been lucrative ever
Hmm.
since this became a problem. Literally, you had slaves walk off the plantations, and then a few years later, probably about 20 years later, it became a race hustling business. So this has been going on for several hundreds of years. Well, I would say at least 100 years. This has
Hmm.
been going on 100 years. What's going to change for this to stop being a conversation? Money. Simple. Money. But instead, our government continues to pander, creating new days like Juneteenth, right? New classifications on the Tulsa, Oklahoma race riots. It was just a riot. It wasn't a race riot. Why do people keep
We
making
should do an
things?
episode on that, man, because I learned from you on that actually. That had me go deeper into it. That I realized, wow, it's more than I thought. I didn't buy into the race. I just didn't know enough, so I kind of stayed away from it. When I heard you explain it, the Tulsa riot, it's actually almost nothing to do with race when you broke down the
Had
stories to me,
nothing to do with race.
which is
It had
crazy. Anyways,
nothing
but
to do
yeah,
with race. It had everything to do with agitation that
yeah,
was coming from a particular extremist group that
very well
stimulated.
orchestrated too. Yep.
Yeah, and they always do this time and time again with history, and this is why I have my frustrations and my gripes with Frederick Douglass, because Frederick Douglass not only was a free slave, was able to
Hmm.
be, free and all that stuff, but he was able to go and travel the world. He went to France. He learned about other perspectives, other vantage points, and instead took that rhetoric, came back and used that knowledge to spew around this hatred and divisiveness. And that's why I get frustrated with these people, because they prey on the innocent. They prey on people that will just listen to them because of the color of their skin. It's almost like their rite to passage, right? I had
Yeah.
somebody on my live tell me, you ain't dark enough to understand the certain kind of issues that I've experienced. I didn't know racism had
And she's
there's a
justified in
clause.
saying that. That's how far we have gone. That you're justifying saying that because there's levels to the race hustling business. There's different
If you're
ideological
dark
beliefs in it.
enough, or
Crazy.
if you were born here or in America, I'm just like,
How
this
about
has
the
become the
facts?
rabbit hole.
I don't care if it's
Yeah,
an
let's
Asian.
go.
I don't care if it's a black person. How about we just talk about the facts?
Let's do it.
It's crazy, man.
How about we do that?
All right.
Today,
Speaking
on
about the
facts.
facts on
Let's
that
do it.
transition, let me break something down. By the way, this was something that was addressed in my live, and I rarely do this in my live because when you bring statistics, they're going to bring something that you go back and forth. And then I realized I did this 3-4 times. It leads nowhere. So I just speak vaguely and then get them out to bring someone else because it leads nowhere. Anyways, check this out. I spoke about the party switch. I'll hit on that, and then I'll keep hitting on a few other points, right? Republicans voted for both civil rights acts higher percentages than Democrats. For both civil rights acts. There were two, by the way, right? We have the 57 and then the popular 64 one. In 1957, Civil Rights Acts. Check this out, guys. Look this up in the government websites. There's a link right here that I can actually put on the chat. So the House voted Republican 84%, Democrat 51%. The Senate voted Republican 93%, Senate 59%. That's 1957. Fast forward to 1964. The House voted 78% Republican, Democrats 69%. The Senate, Civil Rights Act, 1964, the Senate voted 82% Republican, 60% Democrat. And then I'm going to share one more. There's a list of things we could share here. So here we go. This is an interesting one, by the way. I heard this in my live, that people think that the Democrats are the champion of civil rights.
Come on, man.
But according to what you're sharing, even though I'm not even a big fan of a lot what happened in the civil rights for a variety of reasons, I like the push they were doing. The agenda and too much government interference didn't help. The point is, people look at history, they see a Democratic president. This is how surface people look at history. Oh, it's a Democratic president. Oh, it's in Democratic City. Oh, Democrats love us. Bro, you have to look at how their system works. We have Senate, we have a House, we have legislations, we have votes, we have petitioning of government. All these things play a role. So when people tell you that the civil rights was mostly pushed by Democrats, that is false. So that's what I want to leave people with.
Unequivocally, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no wiggle room. And me and you have looked this up time and time again.
Oh yeah, it's facts.
There's been nothing that Democrats have really done in those days for minorities. Period. It's just not. That's why you saw a large number of minorities that were registered Republicans.
Mach, let me leave you with one more thing here. Can hit this 40 mark here. There's a Democrat by the name of Robert Byrd in 1964 filibustered it for how many hours do you think, right? So you're aware with the filibuster, right? Where you're just doing pointless arguments to prevent a vote. How many hours did Robert Byrd push for a filibuster? What's your guess?
I would say 48 hours.
Not quite that much, but that's a long stretch. For 14 straight hours.
And he had a congressman arguing and debating on the floor, hoping that it would sway their decision on the civil rights movement.
So him alone was for 14 days, but the total of the Senate Democrats filibuster was a total of 60 days. But him alone pushed the legislation to prevent this in order that we don't run a vote, so hopefully not vote on it. Anyways, listen, guys.
Here's what Bama said. Robert Byrd also retired with Clan Dental and Company car. They gave him gave him incentives on the way out. They're like, here you go, buddy. Clan, bro.
Anyways, guys, we appreciate every single poison who joined us. Bradley, welcome again. We appreciate you, Katie, Felicia.
You said every poison.
to every single poison is what I said. Every single poison. Now, we appreciate every single person for joining us. We are out here, as y'all know, Macho Fix on live on TikTok. You back when? Let the people know when you're back, though. We waiting for you.
Oh, I'm back February 2nd on my handle.
Okay, February 2nd. That's beautiful. That's a few days away.
Coming back strong as always.
You know, I go live on weekdays. So I'll be on it, and, you know, we'll be doing our thing. And then if you're here, please hit that like, subscribe. We're going to keep pushing here no matter how this gets, and share. We appreciate y'all. Much love, everybody.
See y'all Wednesday.